He didn't lose his job. He didn't gamble. He didn't make millions and blow it all. He made one decision that felt responsible at the time, and it quietly destroyed his family's finances. Mark was 42 years old, married, 2 kids, a stable job, a decent salary, nothing extravagant, but enough to feel safe. They weren't rich, but they weren't struggling either. Mortgage paid on time, groceries without checking prices, occasional vacations, nothing fancy. From the outside, everything looked normal. And that's exactly why this decision felt harmless. It started with a phone call. Mark's younger brother, Daniel, was in trouble. Recently divorced. Behind on bills. Credit already damaged. Daniel had found a small business opportunity. Nothing risky, he said. Just a temporary loan to get started. Banks wouldn't touch him. Friends had already said no. So he called Mark. Mark hesitated. Not because he didn't trust his brother, but because something felt off. Still, this was family. And family helps family. That's what he'd been taught. Daniel didn't ask for money directly. He asked Mark to co-sign a loan. It won't affect you, Daniel said. I'll make the payments. I just need your name. Mark asked his wife that night. She wasn't comfortable. Not fully against it, but uneasy. They talked about it for hours. Daniel promised everything would be fine. He had a plan. He had customers lined up. He just needed one chance. And Mark made the decision. He signed. At first, nothing happened. Payments were made on time. Daniel's business looked like it was working. Mark relaxed. He forgot about the loan entirely. That's how these stories usually begin. 6 months later, the call started. Late payments. Excuses. Promises to catch up next month. Mark told himself it was temporary. Then the letters arrived. Not to Daniel. To Mark. That's when reality hit. The loan wasn't Daniel's problem anymore. It was Mark's. Missed payments were now on his credit report. Interest was compounding. Penalties stacking quietly. Mark confronted his brother. Daniel was overwhelmed. The business wasn't doing as well as expected. Customers disappeared. Expenses piled up. I just need more time, Daniel said. Mark didn't have more time. Within months, Mark's credit score dropped sharply. He didn't notice at first. Until they tried to refinance their mortgage. Denied. Higher interest rates. Fewer options. What had once been a manageable loan suddenly became expensive. Very expensive. Stress entered the house. Arguments started over small things. Groceries. School expenses. Unexpected bills. Mark worked longer hours. His wife cut back everywhere she could. But the loan kept growing. Then came the worst part. Daniel stopped answering calls. Not because he didn't care, but because he was ashamed. Mark was left alone with the debt. And now, legally, it was his responsibility. Collections followed. Late notices. Threats of legal action. The word lawsuit appeared in one letter. That was the moment Mark realized this wasn't a setback. This was damage. They drained their emergency savings to keep up. Then came credit cards. 1 card became 2. 2 became 3. Not for luxuries. For survival. Family gatherings became uncomfortable. Mark avoided his brother. His wife avoided the topic altogether. The stress didn't just affect money. It affected everything. Sleep. Health. Trust. 2 years after signing that loan, Mark sat at the kitchen table staring at numbers that no longer made sense. They weren't drowning because of recklessness. They were drowning because of one decision made out of loyalty. Eventually, they sold the car. Downgraded. Cut everything non-essential. The loan was settled, partially. But the damage remained. Credit ruined. Savings gone. Years of rebuilding ahead. Mark doesn't talk about it openly. Not because he's embarrassed, but because he knows how easily it could happen again. He didn't make a stupid choice. He made a human one. And that's the danger. Financial mistakes rarely feel dangerous in the moment. They feel reasonable, kind, responsible, until the consequences arrive quietly. Here's the lesson Mark learned too late. When you co-sign a loan, you're not helping someone. You're agreeing to become them. Their risk becomes your responsibility. Their failure becomes your burden. And love doesn't protect you from legal contracts. One bad decision. Not dramatic. Not reckless. Just a signature on a piece of paper. And it changed everything. This story isn't rare. It happens every day. And most people don't realize the cost until it's already theirs. If you're watching this and facing a similar choice, remember, sometimes the most expensive decision isn't made for yourself. It's made for someone else. One decision can change everything.